Hey everybody, it's Glenn, back in this video to commemorate Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels, wrapping up with reviews across a number of different series to assemble the entire crew of the Ghost. Kicking it off with Ezra Bridger, an action figure that has seen release a number of times now, although this, its most recent in the Force Awakens packaging, comes with a key difference which we'll get to. But firstly, of note to in-package collectors, of which in the Star Wars community there are a fair number, and there are two packaging variants available of Ezra, one wearing his helmet and one unhelmeted. The version I have here is the helmeted one, then it comes with a combiner weapon part, likely adding to playability for kids, but not collectability for adults in, say, the way the same concept with Build-A-Figures does with Marvel Legends. And while I have 2/3 of the parts, what with having Ezra and Kanan, I'm not sure I'll be buying a Sarco plank. Now, for those who don't watch Star Wars Rebels, so that we're all on the same page, I'll quickly read aloud the cardback bio. Ezra Bridger, an orphan and con artist on the planet Lothal, Ezra was unaware of his connection to the Force until he encountered Kanan Jarrus and learned the truth about his powers. So here is Ezra out of packaging, in appearance mixing cobbled together armor parts, a bright orange flight suit, and also a bit of a ragtag street urchin in the worn and torn vest, all of course then filtered through a Disney animation style. And as for the symbol on the back of his vest, I'm not sure of its origins. If you do know, pipe up in the comments below. Then Ezra's habit of collecting Imperial helmets is represented here with the inclusion of an Imperial Cadet's helmet. Having removed the helmet and regarding Ezra's likeness, it's often been remarked that he has more than a passing resemblance to another Disney street urchin, Aladdin. And in addition to that, I'd throw the Dark Crystal's Jen into the mix, not just on likeness, but likely also because of the puppet without strings animation style of Rebels. In addition to his helmet, he also comes with his lightsaber as an accessory, which for a Force-sensitive character might seem like a no-brainer, yet despite the various previously released iterations of this Ezra figure, I believe this marks the first to come with his lightsaber. It fits snugly into his hand, and it's a shame the blade part is not removable, and I say that as there's a constant behind the scenes of Star Wars need to innovate when it comes to lightsabers, you know, to sell toys, and the innovation with Ezra's is that it's a lightsaber blaster hybrid. Yet with the fixed lightsaber blade, it's not possible to pose him with it in blaster mode. Perhaps that's to come one day, yet after 2 seasons, with this only being just now the debut of the lightsaber as an accessory, I guess beggars can't be choosers now, can they? In terms of articulation, he does represent the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars action figures, downgrading to just 5 basic points of articulation. That's something that's been bemoaned by many a Star Wars collector, and while I would usually be in that boat, I don't know, when it comes to Star Wars, the figures I played with and loved as a wee kid had that same basic articulation, so yes, while it does stink of cost-cutting de-evolution, at the same time it's heartwarmingly nostalgic for me. Which to me is the appeal of Star Wars Rebels and The Force Awakens. Thinking of it, after the prequels, Star Wars finally again feels like the Star Wars I loved. And when it comes to Star Wars Rebels, let's delicately say me being a little beyond Ezra's years, my window into that world and just general avatar for me is Kanan. And if you're not familiar with him, allow me to read his cardback bio. Kanan Jarrus, a Jedi Padawan who survived the destruction of the Jedi Order, Kanan kept his past a secret until he joined a group of rebels dedicated to resisting the Empire. As we linger on the card back for a little while longer, it seems the combiner weapon part Kanan comes with functions as a weapon in itself, which is cool. So with not buying Umpto Plum or whatever his name is, I'm only stuck with the useless piece of plastic Ezra comes with. Here is Kanan out of packaging, perhaps a little of the samurai influence on the development of the Jedi embodied in his ponytail. If I had a ponytail and a bit more confidence, I'd cosplay as Kanan. Not at a con, just shopping for groceries and the like. Who wouldn't want to rock some cool asymmetric shoulder armor around Tesco's? And in case you're wondering, the symbol on his shoulder armor there, I believe, is the precursor to the symbol of the Rebel Alliance. Side by side with Ezra, and I like the size differential between the two, with Ezra embodying the younger Padawan and Kanan the older and taller master. Unfortunately, when it comes to accessories, Kanan's blaster ain't one, cause that there in his hip holster is sculpted in there permanently. But then he does come with his lightsaber kept hidden by him for many years until Ezra discovers it. It fits snugly into his hand, and there he is, ready to climb back on that Jedi horse. Jedi horse being a metaphor, of course, although the Jedi Order, they do let all sorts in. And now bringing some girl power to Rebels is Sabine Wren. Here, unlike Ezra and Kanan, her only action figure to date, therefore harder to find and rarer. Ka-ching! Yet, I'm about to open her up, so Star Wars mint in package collectors prepare to break into a cold sweat. Said packaging is the pre-Force Awakens earlier Star Wars Rebels packaging, and she comes with a stormtrooper to boot. On the card back, no bio, but as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, and there she is defacing some Imperial propaganda, and also an actual stormtrooper in the back there, laying seemingly unconscious, I'd assume courtesy of Sabine here. Needless to say, the stormtrooper she comes packed with better keep his wits about him. But then this really isn't about him, it's about Sabine, who in theory could represent a blatant yet empty individuality over conformity diatribe. At first glance, just a she-Boba Fett to both tick the box of giving girls a positive role model and shoot her up the cool meter. But in practice, I can't help but love her. She is Mandalorian like Boba Fett, which explains her helmet. Its unique deco is explained by her inclination towards graffiti, although translating it from screen into deco on plastic, it loses much of its detail. Now, I have a bit of a thing for synergy between product and packaging, and the packaging pictures her unhelmeted, yet she is not able to remove the helmet. I mean, maybe at this price bracket that's me asking for a bit too much, and I guess I'll just have to wait until her 6-inch scale Black Series figure, which seems set to come with a removable helmet. But let's not focus on what she doesn't come with, and more what she does come with, and that's both her blasters, which she's able to hold in both her hands, plus a nice touch is that she's able to holster both the blasters on her hips. Speaking of her hips, they're sculpted in a cocked posture, which I really appreciate, because in light of not being able to do much with the articulation, they do lend her posture a bit more of a sassy spirit beyond what otherwise would have been a static straight up and down. For the next two members of the Ghost Crew, we're forwarding back to the current Force Awakens era, as you can tell what with Kylo Ren splashed all over the packaging. It's Zeb and Chopper, or as the packaging, like your mum telling you off, announces them by their full names, Garazeb, Aurelios and C110P. Then the packaging back contains the bio for each of them, with Zeb's reading, one of the last Lasats in the galaxy, this burly brawler is capable of taking down a squad of stormtroopers, trademark, with his bare hands. Then Choppers reads the loyal astromech droid of Captain Hera Syndulla. Don't worry, we'll get to her next. Chopper keeps the ghost, trademark, in fighting shape during its encounters with the Empire. So here they are, both out of packaging and both with instant Star Wars cred by being based on designs by Ralph McQuarrie for Chewbacca and R2d2 from back when he drew the original concept art for Star Wars A New Hope. And in character, the two of them fulfill similar roles to Chewie and R2, although Chopper a fair bit crankier than R2, at times bordering on plain psychotic. These two figures, like the rest of them really, translate from screen to plastic really well, likely because they're sculpted from the same digital files as the show's character models. Chopper with a cobbled together look to the point that his legs don't even match, and I didn't even realise that until it became a plot point in an episode toward the end of second season. Now, if you were thinking 5 points of articulation, the head, the legs and the arms really isn't very much, well, Chopper I'm afraid represents even less, but hey, that's just the nature of what he is. So his head rotates, as do both of his legs, and that's it, although I do appreciate they've included the sculpted detail of the rollers on the bottom of his feet. Which really, it's the least they could do, because prior to his inclusion in this set, Chopper has been sold individually, which, as I break out the ruler, represents not very much bang for your buck, as in fact it's only his aerial there that puts him over 2 inches of plastic. But at least paired with Zeb, the muscle of Star Wars Rebels, he represents more value for money, coming in at over 4 inches there. For an accessory, Zeb comes with his weapon, which the name escapes me now, but it is screen accurate, and oh look, Hasbro have painted a red dot on the end of it. That's good of them, huh? Then less screen accurate but representing more playability for the kiddywinkles is this weapon which fires missiles. So let's get it loaded up in Zeb's hand and ready for weapons testing. And let's cross our fingers and hope that the Ghost is never in need of repair, as Chopper, I'm afraid you're all I have to hand for target practice. That's quite the firing mechanism, and thanks to me, quite the aim, although now the crew is down a droid mechanic. And sorry to linger on your demise, Chopper, but here's a slow-mo replay. And rounding out the crew with the captain of the Ghost, it's Hera. A green Twi'leki woman instantly makes me think of Ula the slave girl from Return of the Jedi, who ultimately proved to be dinner for the Rancor. Yet Hera is likely destined for greater things, and by that I don't mean a Rancor's dessert. Now, like Sabine, this is her only figure to date, and the fact that she came packed with a Stormtrooper, or Sandtrooper Commander to be exact, well, that has to be evidence of Hasbro fearing not being able to sell female characters in what is primarily a boys' market. What are they scared of? As a kid, I played with Leia figures in equal measure to my Luke ones, and I turned out normal. Well, you know, that is, if a grown man shamelessly talking about toys on the internet is normal. And that was a rhetorical question. Please don't feel the need to answer that in the comments. Hera was in fact harder to find than Sabine, and in the end I had to resort to paying way more for her than I should have done on eBay. And as for the deco on mine, it's a bit sloppy. Her lipstick, for instance, is a bit skew-whiff. It looks like she was applying that while piloting the Ghost as it jumped to light speed at the same time. But more positively about the deco, I like the markings on her tentacles on her head. Headtacles? Yeah, that's what we'll call them. You can Wikipedia it. No, don't. I'm making stuff up, which is probably a sign that I should start wrapping up this video. But before I do that, let me just mention she comes with a blaster as an accessory, and now let's shuffle her off into a lineup with the rest of the Star Wars Rebels team. All ready to charge into the third season to answer the burning questions. Is Kanan blind? Is Ahsoka dead? Will Sabine ever get a jetpack? Plus, the very day I record this, I received the Star Wars 6-inch scale Black Series Kanan, so if you skew a bit more adult collector than any of the action figures in this video, stay tuned for that. In the meantime, click the video on the right for FN2187, better known to us as Finn, in his Stormtrooper gear in it. And I hope to see you all next time. Bye.